Hi, it's N.K.O, Saturday, 18th of July, 1751. I'm reading from B. Moore Campbell's Brothers and Sisters. Last read was chapter 15, and that was where we met Lakeisha, and we learnt about her family and her circumstances, and she went for her job interview at the bank that Esther works in. And now is chapter 16. Tyrone dialed the number one last time from the payphone in the locker room of Western Express. After three rings, Esther's familiar voice recited a short taped message, complete with background vocals by Shaka Khan. He hung up the telephone. He'd left his name and number when he called her on Monday. She had yet to contact him. He hadn't even been able to catch a glimpse of her in the bank, as he usually did, because his route had been temporarily changed. Of course, she might have called him already and not left her name. A woman like that was busy, he reminded himself. He'd been out at Venice Beach most of the day Sunday, trying to unload some t-shirts. He didn't have a vendor's license, and it was illegal for him to sell his wares at the beach, but in between ducking the cops, he managed to peddle nearly 40 shirts, and he planned on spending some of his profits on Esther Jackson on Saturday night. "Hey, Cody," he said, after he hung up the telephone. The white man was sitting in front of his locker. He had a copy of the Gazette in his hand and was glancing at the front page. "Where do you take a woman if you want to really impress her? A nice place. Never spend money on women, man. Just backfires. They start getting gold diggeritis, turn all yellow and shit. Nasty. Best place to take a woman is to your mama's house for dinner. That way you haven't spent any money and she thinks you're serious about her." Taking a woman home to your mama is automatic pussy. I mean, you ain't even got to ask for it. Honeys meet your mama, their legs just fly open. Tyrone looked at Cody sideways, then shook his head. Perched on top of the crinkly red curls was a green, red and black X cap. "See, that's why you don't have no woman." "What are you talking about? I got plenty of women, man," he said, as he watched Tyrone walk toward the door. The black man waved his hand without turning. Hey, I got plenty of women. Brother man, hey, the back of your hair is looking pretty tacky. Let me trim it for you." Tyrone turned around and Cody was holding electric clippers in his hand. "Now, how in the world can a white boy cut my hair?" he laughed. "I know how to cut your hair," Cody said. If Tyrone had been looking, he would have seen resentment filling his eyes. But he was already walking away. When Esther heard the doorbell ring Saturday evening, a full 2 hours before her scheduled date, she thought for one horrified moment that Tyrone had arrived early, but she opened the door to Vanessa, who stood there grinning. "Did someone call for a wardrobe consultant?" she said breezily as she sauntered into the house. "What is this, prom night? You came to see me get dressed? Your last date was the prom. Now, darling, I'm here to serve you. Zip you up, button your buttons, tease your hair." "No," Esther said, laughing. "You're here to try and make me show my breasts to the world. Go home to your cat." "Not the two entire breasts. Give me some credit. I have class. Just a little cleavage. If I could get some cleavage out of my A-cups, believe me, I would have me a line down the middle of my chest. I can't, so I live vicariously through you. Now show me what you're thinking about wearing." "I'll show you what I'm going to wear." Vanessa soon talked Esther out of the conservative white pantsuit and into a hot pink bustier with matching pants and a rhinestone-studded cream-coloured jacket, a frivolous outfit that she'd bought on a Saturday shopping expedition with Vanessa. When Esther was dressed, Vanessa looked at her approvingly. "Tyrone is going to fall madly and passionately in love with you." "I'm not ready for that," Esther said with a giggle. "How's show business?" she asked, as she put on her makeup in the bathroom. Vanessa lay stretched across the bed. Vanessa's voice brightened. "Oh, I got a commercial," she called out cheerfully. "Dr. Pepper, it's national. Congratulations. And I have a callback for the part where I'm Eddie's girlfriend. Anyway, my agent thinks I have a very good shot, so life is good. Life is always good." They heard a sudden piercing wail outside Esther's bedroom window. Running to look, They saw that the little girl next door had crashed her bicycle into her parents' garage. She was crumpled on the ground, her little shoulders racked by sobs, her wild, wiry hair sticking straight up in the air. Within minutes, her mother and father rushed outside, murmuring soothing words of love and comfort. The white woman scooped up the child, while the father attended to the bike. The little girl must have been more scared than hurt. She stopped crying and let herself be led into the house. Esther felt a sudden pang as she watched a quiet exhibition of family devotion. "What's up with Minnie Girlfriend's hair?" Vanessa asked after the family disappeared inside. Esther shrugged. "Did you make friends with them yet?" "I have no intention of getting involved with those people," Esther said coldly. "Every time you look at them, you get mad. They have power over you. Reclaim your power." "Thank you, Miss Good Karma." Esther rolled her eyes. "Listen, Vanessa, I want to ask you something. What would you do if you had to hire someone and your choice was between a highly qualified white guy and a qualified but has some problems sister? Be more specific." Esther made a face. "I've got to hire a new teller. Last week I interviewed a young white guy and he was perfect. Experienced, knowledgeable, good appearance, could hit the ground running. So I think to myself that he's the one. Then a few days ago, this sister comes in. Dresses a little tight, a little short. Girlfriend has the acrylics of life. We are talking love that red assault weapons, okay? She is knowledgeable and competent, but has no work experience because she has been on the county all her life. And of course, she do be talking that shenane talk. So, anyway, sister woman doesn't quite stack up to the white guy. She can do the work, but she'd require an adjustment period. There you go. And the entire time I was interviewing her, I knew that I wasn't going to hire her. But then, when she was leaving, she starts telling me how much she needs the job and that her entire family is on welfare. And I just felt like, guilty, said Vanessa. No, guilt I can handle. I feel disloyal, as though I'm about to, drum roll please, betray the race. You can get your NAACP membership revoked for that kind of shit. Plus, you wouldn't be able to get into any more Luther Vandross concerts. Plus, you wouldn't be allowed to do the electric slide, and you will lose the ability to digest collard greens and hot water cornbread. Sister, are you sure you want to sell out? Esther sighed. "Thank you for your sensitivity and deep insight. I can't tell you how much better you've made me feel." "You know what?" Vanessa said as Esther walked her to the door. "You trip too much about race. It's just eating you up. You need to learn how not to be black." Esther raised her eyebrows. "Just be, girlfriend. Learn to just be. Repeat after me. My colour is my joy and not my burden." You need to say that every day. "Yeah, right," Esther said. After Vanessa left, Esther had just enough quiet time to try and figure out just why she had agreed to see Tyrone again. He didn't have any money, that was for sure, and not much in the way of prospects either. But she remembered that when she woke up early that Sunday morning, sensing a scream was right at the tip of her throat. His hands were warm and strong around her body. She remembered lying next to him and feeling safe, the way she felt around her father and her brother. She thought about Tyrone during the robbery, the calm way he attended to her and the waitress and the cashier, how he moved quickly and efficiently without panicking. He took charge, she thought to herself. He took care of me. A warm sensation rushed through her, and even though she tensed her body and shook her head, even though she said no over and over again, the heat was still there, pulsating and circling her heart. She held herself very still, knowing that the soft, mushy heat that fanned out from her chest was a kind of beginning. That same warmth washed over her an hour later, when Tyrone stepped inside her door, greeting her with a hug that was full of his fresh, soapy scent. Esther knew the gesture was meant to be a casual one, but feeling his body, she was transported back to the last time he had put his arms around her, in the aftermath of that awful night at Rick's. In her doorway, she held on to him longer than she had meant to. and when Esther let him go, they were way past casual. "Hey," he said, stepping away from her slightly but not removing his arms. "Hey, it's going to be all right." He walked her to her living room sofa, his arm still around her shoulder. They sat down. Tyrone put his hands on her upper arms, squeezed them a little, and turned her body so that she was facing him. "Here's the way it is. I'm not your kind of guy, Esther, I know that. You have a lot of education. You got an important job. When you be dreaming about Prince Charming, he ain't driving no mail truck. I ain't your kind of guy. You're into me now because of what happened. Because when everything went down so fast, I did what was necessary and I kept you calm. Maybe you think I saved you. I didn't. And I don't want you fantasizing about what happened or about me being some kind of hero. And then one day you wake up and realize that, hey, I ain't what you made me out to be. Because by then I'll be hooked, see? See, I'm not your kind of guy, but you're my kind of woman. I like you. I've been liking you for a long time, ever since I first seen you in the bank. I think you're fine. I like your hair, and I love your dimples, and your eyes are beautiful. I love how you're built. I be watching you, girl. You're a good boss. You make those people want to work hard for you, and you don't mind taking a chance. Like coming to Rick's to meet me. I think you a bad sister, Esther, and I would like to get to know you better." When he finished speaking, Tyrone could still hear his words echoing off the walls, or so it seemed. His voice was so loud, maybe too loud. He wondered how he sounded to an educated woman like Esther. Perhaps if he'd gone to college, he could express himself better. "Tyrone," Esther said. He shook his head. "Don't feel like you're on the spot or anything. Let's go out and have a good time, and we'll see what happens." Esther judged Tyrone's beige Audi to be at least 6 years old. It was immaculately clean and so newly polished that she could see her face in it under the streetlight. For a moment, she thought about Mitchell Harris's new Jag and felt a twinge of regret. People looked at her in a certain worshipful way when she stepped out of a car like that, and it carried over to how they treated her when they realized that she was with Dr. Harris. She hadn't spoken to Mitchell since that rainy Saturday. She hadn't spoken to Mitchell since that rainy Saturday she met him at the donut shop, although she had thought about him. But when she climbed into the Audi, the same fresh, clean odour that clung to Tyrone permeated the air enveloping her. Mitchell faded from her mind. "Do you like Jamaican food?" Tyrone asked her as he started the car. She nodded. "If you don't mind, we can go someplace else," he was grinning. But his smile didn't mask the concern in his eyes. "I like it." The Jamaican restaurant wasn't far from her house. It was a small and cosy place, replete with spicy aromas and the lilting patois of Kingston and Montego Bay, spoken by diners and staff alike. The place was vibrating with reggae. The entire Marley clan, both deceased and living, was well represented. Tyrone drummed to the beat softly on the table with his fingers, while Esther did a sort of limbo dance, shaking her shoulders down toward the tabletop and then back up again. The waitress laughed out loud at their antics when she brought them their meals. 2 heaping plates full of jerk chicken, peas and rice, a sweet fried bread, fried plantains, and mixed vegetables. Esther bowed her head quickly to say grace, but when she did, Tyrone reached across the table, took her hand, and bowed his head too. They danced and swayed as they ate their dinners, the music growing louder with every bite. Tyrone clicked his fork against his plate and blinked his eyes in time. Esther started laughing and couldn't stop. They were still dancing when they left the restaurant. "Obviously, we need to take our party to an appropriate place," Tyrone said as they got into his car. The club was located in Venice, not far from a neighbourhood on a canal. Esther could hear the loud music from the street. Tyrone paid the $5 cover charge and they went inside. The interior was dim and crowded and smelled like sweat, stale perfume, and cigarettes. Tyrone took her hand and led her into the thickest part of the throng. They stayed there dancing for nearly 3 hours straight. "Girl, you wore me out," he said, when they were sitting in the car down the street from the club. "No, you wore me out." Tyrone turned the key in the ignition, but didn't start the engine. Luther Vandross's sweet tenor filled the car, and Tyrone and Esther sang along as they rocked to listen to the music. Esther fished around in her purse until she found a tissue, then wiped the perspiration from her brow. She sighed. That felt so good. I've been so busy at work. I've been interviewing tellers all week. Did you choose one? Tyrone's fingers twirled around a lock of her hair. Esther pulled away and turned to face him. It's between a white guy and a sister. No brothers applied. A couple. They didn't have the experience. Well then, hire the sister. It's not that simple. The white guy is a little sharper than she is. She's not... Esther looked away from Tyrone. She's not polished. I have a new boss and everything I do is being scrutinized. She felt a twinge of conscience as she exaggerated. If I hire this sister and she screws up, it will make me look bad, and then I wouldn't be able to do some of the things I want to do. Tyrone began stroking his chin with his thumb and forefinger. I don't know. I'm not a manager, so maybe I don't have a full understanding of what you're talking about. But I know this. White folks hire white folks. Jews hire Jews. Chinese people hire Chinese. Some brother with a PhD will apply for a job, and a white man will tell him he ain't qualified, and then turn around and hire some white boy with a GED. I feel like a black woman in your position ought to try to bring in as many black folks as possible. Somebody white hired me, Tyrone. I mean, suppose the black folks aren't qualified. They hired you because there is an equal opportunity law that makes them hire you. We're talking about a teller. A teller, not a brain surgeon. I mean, can she do the work? Oh, that's not the problem. Well, what is the problem? Help the sister out a little bit. Polish her up. Esther nodded, more out of frustration than in real agreement. He doesn't get it, she thought. He punches a time clock and goes home. He doesn't have to worry about office politics. For the first time all evening, Esther felt the differences between her and Tyrone. Luther's song ended. She felt Tyrone's fingers in her hair. How old are you? He asked. 34. How old are you? 28. Esther's eyes blinked rapidly, and she made a small, unintelligible noise, as though she'd accidentally swallowed a piece of ice. Does it bother you that I'm younger? She nodded. Yes. Why? You look good. Nobody will ever know. Break some rules, honey, okay? She laughed a little. All right. She shook her head again. Hey, so it's okay if I call you Mummy? Don't make me hurt you, boy, she said, shaking a fist at him. Tyrone grabbed her hand and put it around his neck, and she put her other hand there, and he smiled at her and said, I've been thinking about your lips all week long. This isn't going to work, Esther thought. She felt his hands on her back then, and then he was leaning across his seat, attempting to press his body into hers and not be impaled on the stick shift between them. His lips felt hard and then soft and then mostly warm. His mouth was closed, and she enjoyed the pressure of his kiss, the pucker and pout of it, the way he moved his face back and forth so that her lips were completely covered by his. Then he opened his mouth and she opened hers, and she could feel his tongue gliding over her teeth and licking the roof of her mouth and tasting her gums. Everywhere his tongue landed was sweet and hot all at once, and when she kissed him back, she seemed still to be dancing, to be writhing and twisting, trying to get closer to his sweetness. He put his hands on her neck, then touched her shoulders. His fingertips, hotter than his tongue, made her arch a little when they pressed into her back. He didn't fumble or grope. He knew just where his hands were supposed to be, how his fingers were supposed to feel when he touched her. He put his hands on her breasts, and she heard his breathing stop for a moment. A long time, really. Her breasts filled his hands. He moved his fingers back and forth until he could feel her nipples stiffening beneath her bustier. He rubbed the back of his hands across her skin at the top of her cleavage. He felt her moving a little closer to him. He wanted to take his tongue and plunge it between her breasts. Baby, Tyrone finally whispered into her ear, you're so sweet, sweet, sweet. Then he stopped, kissed her very quickly, and then took his hands away. He looked around on the street. He wasn't going to feel her up in public. Girl, he said as he started the car. Ooh, girl. They were quiet all the way back to her house, and after he parked the car in her driveway, neither one of them moved. Finally, he walked her to the door. Now, if I come in there, I'm not going to want to come out until morning. You ready for that? She sighed. Are you ready for it? I've been ready, girl. You the one. Think about it. If we have sex, what will that mean? It means that we had sex. If you like it, we'll do it again. If you don't, we won't. Baby, you in the driver's seat. Let me just tell you a few things that might help you decide. I've never been married. I don't have no children. I have no problem using a condom. In fact, I bought several, all latex. I'm HIV negative. I took my test the day after Magic made his announcement. I don't have herpes. I'm healthy and I'm ready to please. And while we're on the subject, let me just say this. I will do my best to satisfy you and also have a damn good time myself. I respond positively to the words stop, no, more, yes, not so hard, harder please. If any particular part of my anatomy ain't as well trained as you'd like it to be, ain't the size you need, fails to make it through the marathon of love we are about to engage in, if it don't do everything you want it to do, if it, falls down on the job in any way, I want you to know that there are other parts of my anatomy that are at your command. Hello? Are you trying to talk me into something? Hell yeah! By the time they reached Esther's bedroom, she had changed her mind 2 or 3 times, although she hadn't said anything. It was too soon. And how did she know how Tyrone was going to act once they had sex? Suppose he became possessive. What if he started some mess on the job? What the hell was she doing? You can still change your mind, Tyrone said softly. He knew a nervous woman when he saw one, and Esther was about to jump out of her skin. Relax, he said. Lie down. He began kneading the back of her neck and shoulders until he felt her going limp. Now I must warn you, this is a trick to get your drawers off. He felt her shoulders shaking with laughter beneath him, and when she turned her face toward him, she was smiling. God, she sure was fine. He bent down and kissed the back of her neck. You so pretty, he said. Now he felt nervous, as she turned over and pulled him down on top of her. Her breasts felt good pressing against his chest. A woman like Esther, he thought, sister must have all kinds of brothers chasing her. Brothers with money and education. He could feel himself tensing up. When Esther began to pull at his pants and his zipper, he felt panic showering down on him like rain. Esther didn't know what had made her change her mind. Tyrone, she knew, was just something to do until the real thing came along. But he was so sweet, and his lips felt good, kissing her everywhere. His hands were hot and strong, and she liked the way he held her. The more he kissed and touched her, the more she wanted him inside her. Tyrone could feel her eagerness, but the desire trickling down her thighs was scary. What was she expecting from him? He looked into Esther's eyes and saw the hungry passion of a woman in need of a strong loving. When Tyrone looked between his legs, his strength was fading fast. At first, Esther couldn't understand it. 1 minute he was rock hard, and the next he was as soft as last night's noodles. The harder he tried, the worse things got, until finally she told him to stop, and they moved away from each other in the bed, retreating into their own personal silences. Then Esther said, Tyrone, did I do something wrong? Her eyes, he saw, were full of concern, not demands. He wanted her to hold him, but he didn't know how to say that. To Esther's surprise, Tyrone started laughing, a strange kind of nervous laughter she'd never heard before. You know, I'm going to tell you the truth. Here's the problem. This really isn't my dick. My dick works every time. I didn't want to say nothing, but I'm going to tell you what happened, okay? My dick is in the shop. That's right. What you smiling at? My dick is getting a 40,000-mile tune-up. This is like a rental dick. What's a brother supposed to do? Here I am with my baby. Damn rental dick ain't working. Ain't this a trip? Esther moved close to Tyrone and put her arm around his waist. Is there anything I could do to help? I don't know. I think the rental dick is nervous. That's what I suspect. I think he's just all upset. Maybe I could talk to him. What's his name? Brother man. Brother man was looking exceedingly dejected. Esther picked him up and stroked his head lightly. Now, she said, looking at Tyrone, I want you to calm down. You're not here to perform. You're here to share. Just relax. She placed Brother Man gently between Tyrone's thighs. We'll let you have a little rest, and when you're ready, I'll introduce you to Madame Queen. She smiled at Tyrone, then snuggled closer. You want something to eat or drink? He kissed her on her mouth and cheeks and throat. I like what you said. That was nice. Esther put on a robe and Tyrone threw on some jeans. They went downstairs and made popcorn, put on some CDs and fast danced to Janet Jackson until their faces were moist and their hearts were racing. The music slowed down and Tyrone pulled her close enough to feel Brother Man waking up. I think Brother Man is ready to meet Madame Queen, Tyrone said with a slow grin. He stayed ready all night long. That Monday, Esther showered, dressed, gobbled down her breakfast, scanned the Gazette, and then raced to the office. Leaving the quiescence of Park Crest behind her, she felt tension settling around her shoulders. Across the city in a downtown court building, the civil rights trial of the 4 officers was about to begin its proceedings for the day. Tonight, the news stations would bombard the city with old videos and new prints. Tomorrow, fresh anger might stalk the streets. Thinking of the 4 policemen, Esther muttered, somebody better go to jail. But the trial wasn't her only concern. As she drove, thoughts of Lakeisha Jones and David Weaver intruded like a sudden thunderstorm. She saw the black girl's face, the outlines of it as sharp and clear as a bolt of lightning. Then she saw David Weaver's fresh scrubbed profile. Their voices seemed to drown out even the sound of Esther's own breath. Esther was the first one to arrive at the bank. She wanted to make the telephone call as soon as possible, to hear herself speak aloud the words that would confirm her decision. She was in a hurry to get to the place where there was no turning back, where her choice was a done deal. At 8:30 she dialed the number. In a few seconds I won't be able to change my mind, she thought. She took a deep breath when she heard the soft hello. Lakeisha? This is Esther Jackson from Angel City National Bank. I'd like to offer you the position. We need to talk. Can you come in this evening around 6 o'clock? The girl's thank you was filled with incredulity and joy, and such gratitude. You're not going to be sorry, she said several times. We'll see, Esther said to herself as she hung up the phone. For some reason, she felt reassured and cheered by the girl's promise. At the very least, she thought, there will be another sister here. The idea warmed her. She allowed herself to feel the full impact of it, and in that thin space, she saw a scrawny brown-skinned girl of 8, with more barrettes than hair, walking into class on her first day at the private school. She remembered standing there and feeling the eyes, so many eyes, staring at her. She took her seat and was surrounded by a sea of white faces, and very few of them were smiling. Esther stood up and walked to the glass partition and looked out into the empty operations area. When Lakeisha came, she wouldn't be the only one anymore. For a split second, she felt the joy of that explosion detonating inside her. And in that moment, she realised for the first time that she'd made her decision to hire Lakeisha as soon as she'd met the sister. The end of chapter 16. Thanks for listening.